Okay, wait, I'm not ready yet. Let me put this up.
Doodle time.
Today I'm gonna draw Mike Wheeler from Stranger Things with his crazy bushy hair. You know, that kind of makes it easy to draw him because you can kind of mess other features up about him and still get his likeness. Starting off with some pencils on some white paper, getting the outlines in place. Then we'll go in with a black marker to create a nice outline, and then we'll start coloring. So we'll need some paper. We've got a pencil. I'm using 2H, but you can use any pencil. I've got markers. Starting off with my pencil, I'm gonna rough in all the shapes of this drawing before I go in with my markers. I'm starting off with Mike Wheeler's head. Finding his chin here, side of Mike's jaw, the top of his head, finding the outline of Mike's head here still. Now I'm holding the pencil in a kind of a strange way here. It helps me keep my lines straight and precise, and it promotes me in moving my entire hand instead of just twisting my wrist to make my lines. I have more control over the shape of my lines that way. And it also makes it easier for you to see what I'm drawing, where my hand doesn't cover the view from the camera. Now in this picture, the reference image I'm using, Mike Wheeler, is on a phone calling someone. So this is the phone that he's holding up to his ear, or close to his face. His hand coming down from the phone. And his sleeve. Trying to find the shape of Mike Wheeler's hand over here, coming out from his sleeve and going up to his knuckles. Now the shape of the cordless phone in his hand and his shoulder. Now you'll often see me going over the same spots over and over again, but what I'm doing is kind of finalizing where I want to land my outline. I'll start off using very little pressure, and if I'm happy with where the shapes kind of line up, I'll commit to it, go over it a little bit darker, and I'll keep doing that until I kind of find where every line kind of needs to sit. Now I'm finding Mike Wheeler's collar. See where that lands and connects to his hair. And his neck, coming up to his jaw. Some more hair detail. And I'm going to continue to go around the entire picture, the entire drawing. Lightly adding lines here and there, feeling out the shape, and then finally committing to them. Now I'm finding Mike's fingers wrapped around the phone. Fingers are tricky to draw, I find. I like to break them up into segments if I can. Each segment of each finger kind of like its own little tiny sausage. And then join all those sausages together and you've got a hand. Actually, I was wrong about the phone. It's not a phone, it's a walkie-talkie, I remember now. But it looks like a very old cordless phone. So I don't know the age of everyone watching, but there was, if you didn't know, there was such things as cordless phones. Now, these weren't cell phones. These sat in your home, but they didn't need a cord, so you could walk around your house and maybe in your backyard or front yard. Or if you live in an apartment, maybe you could walk down the corridor of your apartment, still talking on the phone. And then when you're done talking, you hang up and place the handset back on the receiver to charge. At least that's what I think this is. I think this is a cordless phone he's using. Now, this was back in the day. Back in my day. Back in the day. Now, this antenna, I want to make sure I make it nice and straight. The ruler's a little bit out of my reach, so I've just grabbed another pencil, and I'm using the edge of that to make a straight line. Now, I'll continue adding detail on Mike's shirt. Get the edge of his sleeve in place. And Mike's wearing a shirt with a type of stripe pattern on it. So I'm going to put those in place as well right now. Now, adding some of the shagginess to Mike's hair. Figuring out where the top of his hair ends up. And now the side, and that creates the shape of the face. Now the face, the part I always mess up. I've got a kind of curved line going from up and down, dividing Mike's face in half. And the reason it's curved is because he's looking, or we're looking at him at sort of an angle, not head on. And we're kind of at a higher angle as well. So the line to kind of indicate where his eyes goes is also going to be a bit curved. Now I'll give myself a guide for where Mike's nose is going to land roughly. And his mouth. Roughly. I'm going to commit a little bit to the outline of Mike's hair. I'm liking where that's sitting. Gonna define his cheek. I'll continue doing that down his hairline around the other side. Doing a lot of kind of curved, jaggedy lines to give the impression of Mike's roughly, scruffly hair. You can use whatever adjective you want, but I know it's not straight hair. It's roughly, scruffly. Now I'm gonna start to shape in Mike's eyes. A lot of this mess I've made with the pencil is going to get hidden when I go over with marker. But I do want to make sure I'm happy with where all the penciling ends up before I do touch any of this with marker. I can't erase the marker. I can't hide any marker with other marker as well as I can with pencil. I'll find the bridge of Mike's nose. How it'll curve down, where the nostrils are going to end up. And the other eye. Getting both sides of the face to look kind of symmetrical or even, that's a big struggle of mine. Now let's find Mike's mouth. Mike who? Mike Wheeler. There's his lips. This eye is bugging me. I think this is a good place to leave my pencil and start introducing some markers. So I'm taking my black marker and going over my outline. And because I spent the time to kind of give myself a good guideline of where all my lines are going to sit, I can be quick with this, knowing I'll be happy with it. So let's get quick. Now, my coloring tends to be quite messy. You could say I color like a boy. So I'm gonna try something different here. I'm gonna opt for some neatness. So what I'm gonna do with my markers when I'm coloring is color with a whole bunch of straight lines, clumped together, all going in the same direction. I find the markers I'm using, I don't know if it's this paper, these markers, what it is, or if it's just me, but they leave a texture when I color with them. So I'm gonna embrace that texture. I'm gonna make that texture nice and neat, nice and organized, and we'll see what that looks like. Now that looks quite neat compared to my coloring generally. So I'm gonna do something a little different here for the shady parts of Mike's face. I'm gonna use a cool color, this sort of teal or turquoise. And this will be I'll lay this down as a base foundation for the darker parts of Mike's face. That isn't getting quite as much light as the other parts. It's gonna look weird, but trust me, we'll go with it. We'll see what this gives us. If it ends up looking whack, at least I know not to do this again in the future. I'm gonna do the same thing with Mike's hands. Any part in this drawing where I'm seeing Mike's skin, I'm gonna keep the same kind of color scheme. So the point of laying down colors in different layers, I guess, is to build up the impression of shape. Instead of the whole drawing looking flat, it'll give parts of the drawing some shape and some dimensionality. The blue is looking whack right now, or this turquoise, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So the next layer we're gonna add is with brown on top of this blue. And I'm doing the same thing every time I apply color. Doing a whole bunch of lines clumped together, going in the same direction. And that way at least I get to dictate what my texture looks like. And if you're watching this and thinking, this is not very good, I can do better. Good, go do better. I implore you. I hope this is encouragement. I'm working outside my comfort zone. I don't like using markers, and only because I'm not used to using markers. But that's no excuse. So now I'm going to add a third color to this layering. I'm going to use pink. This is the closest color I've got to any form of skin tone. Lots of little lines clumped together. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at my reference image that I found on google.com of Mike Wheeler talking on a walkie-talkie. And I'm looking at parts that are lighter and darker from that reference image, and I'm building up my drawing that way. Now for the walkie-talkie, I almost said cell phone. For the walkie-talkie, I'm going to use my black marker. Looking at the way the black marker looked in the hair, I know it doesn't quite go as dark as I want it to, but I'm going to use that as an advantage, because I want to build up 2 shades of black on the walkie-talkie. So I'll color everything in with the black, and then I'll go over certain parts with a second layer of black. While I'm at it, let's color in the watch as well. Now with the dark purple, I'm gonna start to introduce some of the shadow parts of Mike's sweater. Maybe I'll use some brown too, for the inside of the collar, Now, originally, I said I was going to use black in 2 different layers to give shape to the walkie-talkie. I changed my mind on that. I'm going to use gray. Gray and black. Those will be the 2 tones that I've got for my walkie-talkie hair. Using that same gray, I'm going to start coloring in Mike's cuffs, the cuffs of his sweater. And that gray is going to be used for the rest of Mike's sweater. Now for Mike's lips. Let's get some lip action going on. Who here knows about lip action? So my outline right now seems a little faded. I'm going to go over everything with another layer of black. And by everything, I mean just the outline. What a big difference that made. Now I think I can start adding a second layer of black for portions of this drawing that I think needs it. You know what? I do think parts of this phone need a second layer of black. So if you notice, the way I'm coloring is still with a bunch of lines stacked together real tight. But what I want to do is over big portions where I'm putting 2 layers of the same color, is I don't want their pattern or the texture of the lines I'm laying down to go the same way, or the 2 layers that I'm putting down for the lines to go the same way. So I'm coming at it at sort of a different angle. Now, if that ain't Mike Wheeler, I don't know what is. For the background, I'm thinking of something retro, something old school, with a bit of pizzazz. So I think a bit of an abstract shape. That'll do just well here. Now that I've got the rough kind of shape of the swirl or whatever that thing is in the background, that abstract shape, I'm gonna color it in with a cool color. Cool being this turquoise. And using the same technique for coloring in big spaces, or small spaces for that matter, a whole bunch of lines stacked together nice and tight, all going in the same direction, until I've filled up a space I want to fill up with a color. Now that that's done, I gotta deal with this white space in the background. So much of this drawing is containing a lot of cool colors. It's a very cold drawing. I want to balance that out with a bit of warmth. So I'm gonna choose a nice warm color to fill in the rest of this background with. And there you have it. Mike Wheeler!